Zoom. And we have provided options for the public to attend through telephone, internet, or other means of remote access, and also provided the ability for persons attending the meeting not in person to hear each other at the same time. Ask that you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we have a published agenda this evening. And please note that in your email this afternoon, an updated staff report was sent out for item C. So I just wanted to call that to your attention. And other than that, are there any amendments proposed to this evening's agenda? And if not, I would entertain a motion to approve. Councilmember Clausen.
Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as published.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Clausen, second by Councilmember Diener to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion of tonight's agenda? We have a public hearing and then we have a labor session after the meeting, so don't go too far. So all in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the agenda has been set for this evening. We are to our first citizen comment period, and that is for anything on this evening's agenda. If you're here to make testimony about the proposed fireworks ordinance, that's actually a public hearing, and you should hold your comments until we get to that point in the meeting. So with that said, please use the raise your hand feature if you would like to address the council for anything on this evening's agenda. We have a second citizen comment period at the end of the meeting. And I see Mr. Greg Krabby has raised his hand. So if Janine, if you could bring him into the meeting, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the council, Mr. Krabby.
Good evening. So on tonight's agenda, there is an agreement between McCormick and the city for water reimbursement for water improvements. And this is something we have been working on literally since 2018. So I just wanted to take a minute to thank staff and your consulting groups for working so hard on this. We are excited about it, and we hope you will look on it favorably this evening.
Thank you for your comment, sir. Is there anyone else wishing to address the council for items on this evening's agenda? And as I said, we have a second citizen comment period at the end of the meeting for any item you wish to address the council about. And we also have a public hearing later in the meeting related to fireworks. So I'm not seeing any other hands raised. So at this time, I will close the first citizen comment period. And now we are to our consent agenda. Councilmember Lucarelli.
I move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
So that would, you would move to approve it then. And I think
Approve.
I was, yes, so a motion by Councilmember Lucarelli. And I believe that second was by Councilmember Rosopepi. Any discussion of those consent items? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the consent items have been approved. So we don't have any presentations, and we are to our public hearing. And tonight's public hearing is a draft ordinance that would propose amending Port Orchard Municipal Codes, Chapter 5.60 related to fireworks. And Mr. Bond, do you have a staff report?
Yes, Mayor, I do. I was looking for the unmute button. Yeah, before you tonight is the draft ordinance amending Municipal Code Section 5.60. The City Council had a discussion about the fireworks issue in January and directed staff and the attorney's office to develop this draft ordinance and to provide public outreach and schedule a public hearing. The purpose of tonight's meeting is not to take action on the fireworks issue, but simply to listen to the public. And so this is the first part of the public hearing. The recommendation is that you continue this public hearing to your April meeting. And that way we don't have to re-advertise it, but it will remain open and people can give testimony after they've heard what the public has to say and after the city council has had a chance to discuss the issue. And so the recommendation tonight is just to open the public hearing and then to continue it until the April 12th meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. And just for the record, these proposed changes only affect personal fireworks, not the public displays. And if any action was taken this year on this, it would not go into effect for 1 year after the following 4th of July celebration. So it would not be in effect for this 4th of July. So with that, if you would use the raise your hand feature and we will take testimony on it. Well, at this point, I will open the public hearing. And if members of public wish to testify, use the raise your hand feature and you may provide testimony on this matter. So see Randy Jones has raised his hand. So Clerk Wallace, if you could bring him into the meeting, we'll allow for that testimony. Mr. Jones, go ahead and unmute yourself and address the council if you'd like.
Okay, I'm not talking about the fireworks. I wanted to go on the agenda about Mr. John Haynes' home.
Okay, this is not the time at the meeting to speak to that. That would be at the end of the meeting, Mr. Jones.
Yes, you know that, and I tried to raise my hand and I plugged it 1 second after you ended the public comment period. When is the meetings going to stop being Zoom meetings?
Probably sometime in May. So, all right, well, we'll welcome you back later in the meeting, Mr. Jones. Is there anyone in the public wishing to address the council on the matter related to the fireworks? Okay, I see a real American pageants, and if you could, you could welcome you to the meeting, and if you could identify yourself for the record, that would be much appreciated. Please go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Dee Chartier, and I'm a co-owner, I guess, for lack of a better term, of Real American Pageants. And part of what we do is we use fireworks as a way to raise money for social enrichment programs for low and no income families. Right now, we are using our format to help homeless youth. And if Port Orchard, which is one of our fantastic areas, takes that away from us, then Kitsap Youth is going to suffer, because we do scholarships for homeless kids that are graduating high school. These are kids that have been thrown out of their homes because they're part of the LGBTQ community, and they don't have anywhere to go. They're either couch surfing or they live in tents, but they're still trying to get their education. And we honestly feel that should Port Orchard, take this away from us, then this will be our last year to be able to assist them to, a better standard of living for themselves. I think that's pretty much my argument.
Okay, well, thank you for providing your testimony this evening.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question of her before she's?
Okay, we can bring her back.
Okay, my question for you is, could you give us a range of how much money you generate in a season?
For Port Orchard, I believe last year we did about $12,000 to the group, and out of that we did about 8 scholarships for high school graduates. One of the things along with that is some of them actually come and get a mentorship with us as far as how to run a business. So part of their scholarships go for books or for business education.
So you generated $12,000 for sales, I guess, your profits.
Right. We only get a small percentage from TNT to run the operation. There's no product cost to us, but we do have expenses that we have to come up with ourselves, like the business licensing and things to that effect.
So it's the 12,000 gross sales, or is that the net that you have available to use for these activities?
That's gross.
Okay.
No, that's sorry. My husband's next to me. He's like, no, that's net. So it's a net.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for listening.
For your comments. All right. Others wishing to testify? I see Randy Curley. If you could identify yourself for the record.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Randy Curley. I am the area manager for TNT Fireworks. So most of you have already either emailed me or called me. We've talked over the phone. So I'm not going to go super along into what we've already talked to, other than I want to touch base with a couple things when it comes to banning of fireworks and the banning of things in general, but specifically fireworks. When we talk about banning the fireworks, and one of the main causes for issue is, fires that are started from the fireworks that go off into the brush and all that stuff. The main thing I want to point out is Rice University did a study, and they did what causes majority of the fires. 29% is people burning their debris, like weeds and brush around their houses. 21% is arson, 11% is equipment fires, and fireworks / playing with matches accounts for 5%. And that's according to a study done by Rice University. So I just want to point out that there's a lot of things in our communities and in our areas that cause fireworks, and we're not going to ban equipment being used simply because it does account for 11% of fires related to in our communities. Also, I wanted to point out a couple things as far as the ban is concerned. The city of Tacoma, and most of you have heard this, city of Tacoma instituted a ban a few years back, and they recently sent up a drone in the air over the 4th of July season just to see what the landscape was, the view was, and they noticed that there was as much or more fireworks that were being lit off and discharged over the city of Tacoma than there was before the ban. And that's because city of Tacoma sits in between a massive market for sales and all the way around, and people go out of the city of Tacoma to get fireworks and put it in. And so I just wanted to point that out, as well as I don't believe that bans work. And the main reason is because when you institute a ban, you lose regulatory ability. Point in fact, when prohibition was in the early 1900s, it cost the federal government as well as city and local governments billions of dollars to enforce the ban on alcohol. And they said it was to, the reason why they did it was to reduce crime and corruption, solve social problems, reduce the tax burden by prisons and poorhouses, and improve health and hygiene in America. Well, we all know that it failed. It was a dismal failure, cost the country billions of dollars, and it actually did nothing of the sort. It created more crime, created everything that they were trying to stop. It actually created more of it. The city of Port Orchard sits south of Bremerton, that has legal fireworks. They sit north of Gig Harbor, which has legal fireworks. They sit east of Belfair, that has legal fireworks, and they sit in the middle of Kitsap County, that also has fireworks. And I just think a ban of fireworks would create a huge pressure on the city of Port Orchard to now enforce a ban that is almost impossible to enforce. And the money that is generated from that can be better served elsewhere. So I'm open to any questions. As I've stated in my phone calls and stuff with you, that I am a resource that I would love to be talked with and used in determining the best course of action for the city of Port Orchard. It's easier to be on the same team than it is, to do other things. So that is my time, and I hope that we can come to a agreement on not banning fireworks. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. I see a Rob, and if Brandy, you could bring Rob over, and if you could identify yourself for the record.
Yeah, thanks. I just tuned into the fireworks deal. This is Robert McGee. And have you guys done an evaluation on what the net sales tax loss would be to the city and the sales going to the surrounding areas in fireworks sales? I'm just curious if that's been looked at and evaluated on what that would be. That's my only comment.
Thank you for your testimony. And I see a Cole B. If you could bring Cole over, and if you could identify yourself for the record and provide your testimony.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you guys so much for this meeting today. My name is Cole Brodowski. I'm actually a property manager here in Port Orchard. I run a 98 unit property right here up top of Mile Hill. My concern for coming to you guys today is the car burglaries. We've had a massive amount of car.
Sir,
Yeah.
this is not the time for that. This is a public hearing on fireworks.
Oh, on fireworks? Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
You'll have to excuse me. I apologize. I'm literally learning. I'm trying to.
There is a public comment period at the end of the council meeting where where your comments would be appropriate there.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Okay.
And others wishing to testify on fireworks this evening, you please use the raise your hand feature. And I'm not seeing any further hands raised. We do have a survey online on our website that I encourage individuals to take. We'd love to hear from you, and we will continue this public hearing till April 12th. So I am not closing the public hearing. We will take additional testimony on April 12th on this matter. And at this time, I will call on Councilmember Lucarelli, who has her hand raised.
Thank you. I don't know that we've actually defined fireworks. I mean, do we mean sparklers would be banned? Do we mean, is it all fireworks, the little snakes, the things, all of the different kinds of things, would everything be banned? And what kind of penalties are we going to be assigning for people?
Mr. Mayor, point of order, is this the right time to
Yeah, I think
initiate this?
we would hold those, the deliberations. Yeah, you're correct, Councilmember Diener, until April 12th, when the council will deliberate on the matter.
Okay.
Okay.
It doesn't seem really defined.
Okay, I'll make sure that staff has got those definitions for you. Mr. Bond?
Yeah, just for the public's benefit, I did want to mention that a number of comments came in after the packet went out, and so those have been emailed to all council members. And Brandy, the city clerk, has added those to the record. But we did receive, I think, a total of 7 written comments on this to supplement the oral testimony.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bond. So at this time, we will go back to our council agenda. As I said, we are continuing the public hearing till April 12th, and we will continue to run our survey until April 8th.
Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt. We do have a Mr. Franklin that has their hand raised. And do you want to see if it's regarding fireworks before you close the public hearing, or do you want to move forward?
So, Mr. Franklin, are you wanting to address the council related to fireworks? If you are, go ahead and address the council, and then please identify yourself for the record.
My name is Franklin Rusk. I live at 1777 Bay Street. I was just wondering, when you deliberate on which fireworks to use, is that the day you're voting for it?
It could be.
So we don't find out what fireworks we can't use until you vote for it.
be my understanding, Mr. Russ, that it would be all fireworks other than the public display.
Okay. Thank-
All personal fireworks is what we're discussing. So, all right, with that, we will be moving on. And I would ask for the council's indulgence. Mr. Jones had technical difficulties in the first public comment period, and he wants to speak to one of your business items. So I would ask that he be allowed to provide his comments. So if the clerk could bring him over, and he will be given 3 minutes to address the council. Right, so you got the wrong Randy there, Randy.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can, Mr. Jones, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Hey, thank you very much for letting me speak on that. I wanted to speak ahead of the time, ahead of the vote on Mr. John Haynes' my neighbor's home. And I'm abreast of what's been happening on his and his. I'm glad that he came to a peaceful solution for his situation. But I was a little concerned about the price valuation for his house, not for the relocation package, but for the valuation. And so if you think he's not getting a fair shake there, or think you're paying too much. The only home I found that had waterfront that was in the area for sale, once we started realizing this might be a problem, was $650,000, and that was in the Tide Flats in Gorse, and in waterfront, it's all about your beach. Anyway, our houses, salmon run underneath our houses going into Blackjack Creek. Our tenants on the other side have never seen anything like salmon running underneath the house. We have otters that would be dislocated, that are underneath our homes. And that's something you don't get on a standard waterfront home that this house might be being compared to. Never found a house underneath $650,000 except for a little derelict next to the boatyard. One also, after 12 years, he has been sweating this out. I'm glad he found a home that will make him happy. We've had over 200 reviews on the vacation rental side of our house that have been repeats because they've never found anything like this. Waterfront is nice, but there's nothing like living over the water. And that is basically what I wanted to state. And I'm glad his relocation package will put him into a home that he personally finds good. But if he wanted to live on the water and enjoy that type of thing, $570,000, I believe, is what you allotted for his house, is definitely not enough. And I'm concerned for my neighbors.
Mr. Jones, your time is up this evening. So thank you for your comments. Okay, we will continue now on with our business items. The first of which is item A, adoption of an ordinance amending the 2021-2022 biennial budget. And this is you, Mr. Crocker.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The first business item to amend the budget is focused on two things. First, one is a cleanup item. When we did some prior amendments, we entered into an agreement with the school for impact fees. So we want to amend the budget to reflect that we would be receiving revenue and then immediately dispersing that to the school district so that we do have expenditure authority and the revenue offsets that. So that's a cleanup item. number 2 in the staff report. And then the other 2 items are an amendment for Fund 109 and Fund 304. And these are being proposed to support the Bay Street pedestrian path right-of-way purchases, which you'll hear later this evening. These amendments are allocating an additional $125,000 of REIT funds to come from the Fund 109 to our 304 fund, where we'll be making the acquisition of that property. And again, overall, that property is estimated to close at, for the total purchase, including relocation and moving expenses, of around $920,000. Of that, 85% will be used federal dollars, and so we'll need additional $125,000 to close that acquisition. With that, staff would propose that council approve the ordinance amending the budget.
Councilmember Clausen.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance amending the 2021-2022 biennial budget as adopted by ordinance 035-20 and as amended.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Clausen. I believe that second was by Councilmember Cacciardi. Is there any discussions of further discussion of this budget amendment? Not hearing any, so you'll be voting on an ordinance amending the 2021-2022 budget. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the ordinance has been approved. We are to item B now, adoption of a resolution approving a contract with McCormick Communities LLC regarding credits for water capital facility charges. Mr. Bond, this is yours.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and members of council. Before you tonight is a CFC credit agreement between the city and McCormick Communities LLC. As we all know, we've had some difficulties with water in the McCormick area of the city's water system. And under the purchase and sale agreement in 1998, when the city purchased this water system, it made certain commitments in the purchase and sale agreement to provide water to this area of the city as it continued to develop. At this time, McCormick has been building at a pretty steady pace, and the needed water improvements are not going to be ready for McCormick in the timeline that they desire. And so McCormick has proposed to build those improvements for the city in exchange for receiving a credit against their capital facility charge. The agreement as proposed includes 5 projects: the Well 12 development, treatment, and booster pump station. There is the 390 to 580 zone booster station number 2, the one that connects from the Glenwood side of the city. There is a 390 to 580 transmission main that connects to the Glenwood pump station. There's a 580 to 660 booster station that takes water from the 580 zone up to the 660-foot elevation zone. And then finally, there is a second reservoir that they will build. They already built the first reservoir last year, and this is the 660 zone reservoir. In total, the developer estimates that these improvements are going to cost about $14 million. However, in the city's capital facility charge calculation, they were estimated at $11,840,625. And so that is the maximum credit that they can receive under this agreement. We are proposing to divide the credit among 2,000 lots that are entitled and remain in the McCormick West and McCormick Woods area. And so that results in an ERU credit of $5,920 per connection. And so the developer does have to provide documentation showing that they actually spent the $11,840,625 in order to receive the total credit. If for some reason they didn't spend that much money but still successfully completed the projects, their credit would run out sooner than the full 2,000 lots. The ERU credit is indexed to inflation, and it's using the same methodology as the city's CFC charge. Importantly, the agreement does include a release from the city's obligations that were made in the 1998 purchase and sale agreement for the McCormick water system. And this agreement is one of 3 agreements that are being proposed This one has been ready to go to council for a couple of months now, and McCormick, because building continues, they have been missing out on credits by not having this adopted, but they are asking also for extensions on their existing entitlements at McCormick West and McCormick Woods. We anticipate bringing those two agreements to the city council in late April or early May, I think is the timing of those. So the benefits to the city in this agreement are also the consideration that will be cited in those agreements as they come forward. McCormick has started working on these projects, the 5 projects that they're going to build. The last I heard, they had spent $500,000 towards the design of some of these projects. I think the 660 reservoir is almost totally designed and ready to go forward for construction. So the credits would commence upon within 30 days of the approval of this agreement. We just have to certify the money that they've already spent on the project to start offering those credits. And under the agreement, they also are paying our attorney fees for the preparation of this agreement. So the staff recommendation is that the city council authorize the mayor to sign an agreement between the city of Port Orchard and McCormick Communities LLC regarding credits for capital facility charges. Thank you.
Councilmember Lucarelli.
I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement between the city of Port Orchard and McCormick Communities LLC regarding credits for water capital facility charges.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Lucarelli and a second by Councilmember Clausen. Are there any questions of Mr. Bond on this matter? See Councilmember Rosapepe's raised his hand.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. And Nick, you'll probably be able to say this a little bit better than I can. It sounds like when we're talking about this that the city has no responsibility, and actually we do have responsibility in ensuring that we inspect the projects as they're done and meet the laws and our codes. So I just want to bring that up for public, just to let them know that it's not like the McCormick is just building willy-nilly without any oversight. This is a great deal, and I really want to say thank you to staff and to the mayor for brokering this, because it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Councilmember Rosapepe. And I'll along those lines, not only do the plans for all of these improvements get submitted to the city engineering staff for review, they also have to go through a Department of Health approval process. So we submit them to the Washington State Department of Health, who signs off on these before these projects are constructed.
Just additionally on that thread too, these are improvements that we were obligated to build under the 1998 agreement. And this relieves us of that responsibility because we just can't get to them quick enough for the activity that's happening. So this is a win for us and our community and for the developer, because they're going to build these on their timelines. So Councilmember Clausen.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of echo that same sentiment, and I guess pass on a thank you to McCormick Communities LLC for this is a great opportunity, or a great example, I guess, of showing how both the public sector can work with the private sector to the common goal. And, essentially at the end of the day, we're going to be expanding our infrastructure. We're going to be adding 2,000 customers to our water utility system, and we're able to get this in a timely fashion such that the McCormick communities can develop and prepare for the growth that's coming to our community. So I really see this as a win-win situation, as Councilmember Rosapepe said, and I too would like to certainly pass on my thank you to both the staff, you Mayor, as well as McCormick Communities for coming together and coming up with a solution that's going to work well for all. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Councilmember Clausen. Councilmember Cacciardi.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Thank you for the comments that have been made already. Just kind of adding to that, the realities that, this agreement's been in work for a long time. And, a private developer can act on these things much, much more quickly than a city can. And so there's just no way that the city could have performed on all of these obligations from that previous agreement at the price point that's listed here. And so, they're obviously capped at this $11.8 million credit. They're motivated to act quickly. effectively, and it truly is a win-win. I mean, there's a considerable savings back to our city by entering into a private-public arrangement such as this. And so I just wanted to lose sight of that this is very resourceful use of dollars and credits for the entire city of Port Orchard.
Thank you for your comments, Councilmember Cacciardi. Councilmember Diener, I see your hand raised.
Sure. I think my peers have stated it very eloquently, so I won't repeat what they've had to say. But, the alternative for this was a moratorium on development, and that would have put the cities back against the wall, and it would have been a rather nasty legal fight. And so this was a way to go, but it was also executed very well by staff. And so kudos to everybody involved.
Thank you for your comments, Councilmember Diener. Councilmember Trenary, I saw your hand raised earlier. Was your comment captured?
My comment was captured multiple times. My main point was to thank everybody involved for this, and also to make for public perception that there is a cap on this, so that regardless of how much it costs to finally build these out, we are covered, the city is covered, and the citizens are covered with this cap.
Good point. Other comments or questions? Hearing none, you'll be voting on an adoption of a resolution approving a contract with McCormick Communities LLC regarding credits for water capital facilities charges. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. We're to item C now, and there was an updated resolution sent out earlier today, so please reference that. It's a resolution authorizing the purchase of Kitsap County parcel number 4027-022-001-0004 for the Bay Street Pedestrian Pathway Project. Mr. Dorsey, this is yours.
Thank you, Your Honor, council members. The city's right-of-way acquisition and relocation consultant, Tierra Right-of-Way Services Limited, in conjunction with the city, identified Kitsap County tax parcel number 4027-022-001-004, or the property, as a necessary acquisition for the Bay Street Pedestrian Pathway Project. Accordingly, the consultant has negotiated terms of a voluntary purchase of the property, as well as associated relocation benefits in accordance with resolution number 028-16, which is the city's right-of-way acquisition procedures and the city's relocation assistance program. On February 7th, 2022, the Public Works Director executed the concurrence and authorized for payments of just compensation for the purchase of Kitsap County tax parcel 4027-022-001-004 in the amount of $516,000, subject to council approval of the purchase. Additionally, on March 2nd, 2022, the Public Works Director executed the price differential report and relocation assistance voucher number 1 in the amount of $386,118.03, which is also known as the relocation housing payment, and the move expense agreement residential and relocation assistance voucher number 2 in the amount of $5,000, also known as the moving benefit payment. Please note all expenditures associated with the Bay Street Pedestrian Pathway Project have been identified within the project funding estimate and are grant eligible. Recommendation for the Haynes property acquisition and is needed for the Bay Street Pedestrian Pathway Project. Staff recommends that the council authorize the following: the mayor's execution of the real estate purchase and sale agreement in the amount of $516,000, the warranty deed, the real property voucher, the real estate excise tax affidavit form, and payment of additional associated closing costs and fees in the amount of $4,889.25 for the total acquisition payment of $520,899.25. Approve the relocation payment in the amount of $386,118.03. Approve the moving benefit payment in the amount of $5,000. And then lastly, approve any additional associated closing costs, escrow fees as needed in the amount not to exceed $25,000.
Is that it, Mr. Dorsey?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Councilmember Diener, you have your hand raised.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt Resolution 28-22, authorizing the purchase of Kitsap County tax parcel 4027-022-001-0004 for the Bay Street Pedestrian Pathway Project in the total acquisition payment of $520,899.25, plus the relocation payment in the amount of $386,118.03, the moving benefit payment in the amount of $5,000, and any additional associated closing costs or escrow fees in an amount not to exceed $25,000, and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents necessary to effectuate this acquisition and relocation.
Seconded.
Motion by Councilmember Diener, second by Councilmember Clausen. Any questions or comments related to this matter? I'm just excited that we're here today. We're moving this project forward and acquiring one of the parcels. So, Councilmember Diener.
I just also wanted to add that I'm excited that there's some movement on this. It's a long project and it's good to see movement.
Other comments or questions? Hearing none, you'll be voting on a resolution authorizing the purchase of real property associated with the Bay Street Pedestrian Pathway Project. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes unanimously. We are to item C, which is approval of memorandums of understanding with Teamsters Local 589, representing police support staff, municipal court employees, and public works employees. Ms. Lund, this is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. The item in front of you is kind of a housekeeping issue related to the recent contracts that were approved with our 3 Teamster unions. The city pays its employees bi-weekly, which means 26 times a year. That means twice a year employees receive 3 paychecks in a single month. As part of the 2022-2025 contract negotiations, the parties agreed to move all payroll deductions to occur 2 times a month. Specifically in Appendix B, language was included that the deductions would occur in the first and the last paychecks of the month. In hindsight, after a reconsideration, payroll actually would prefer that the deductions be in the second and third paychecks of the month rather than the first paychecks. And again, that only occurs when there's 3 paychecks, and it gets a little complicated. This is a change to contract language already approved by the City Council. So the request is that the council authorize the mayor to sign memorandum of understanding with the 3 bargaining units required to make that correction to the language. I do want to point out that the MOUs were sent to you under privilege by Jennifer Robinson of Inslee Best last week. And I also want to publicly thank the Teamsters Local 589 for their cooperation and willingness to make this minor change to the contract.
Thank you. Councilmember Cacciardi.
I move to authorize the mayor to sign memorandum of understandings which each of the 3 bargaining units represented by Teamsters Local number 589 to correct language in Appendix B of the collective bargaining agreements regarding payroll deductions in 3 paycheck months.
Seconded.
So I got a motion by Councilmember Cacciardi, second by Councilmember Lucarelli. Any comments or questions of Ms. Lund? I think it's pretty straightforward. It's just kind of a housekeeping item to keep the folks in the finance department that process our payroll happy. We've got to keep those guys happy. All right, hearing no questions, we'll be voting on the memorandums of understandings with our Teamsters Local 589 representing our 3 bargaining units. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, this also passes unanimously. We're finished with our business items tonight, and we are on to our standing discussion item, which is Veterans Park. Nick Bond, Ms. Archer, and Katie Cassad, our code enforcement officer, met this afternoon, and I will let Ms. Archer speak about the progress and future steps related to Veterans Park. So go ahead, Charlie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. As the mayor mentioned, we are continuing to monitor the actions that are being taken at Veterans Park. And since we last spoke, positive steps have been made in the direction of clearing out historical trash, for lack of a better phrase, the encampments that have been in place for many, many years, or evidence of those old encampments, and trash that had been placed on site over the past few years. Both Northwest Hospitality, in conjunction with the county, conducted multiple cleanup events since we last spoke, and the trash accumulation was redressed. However, there is continued trash accumulation associated with the ongoing encampments. So it's not all perfect news. There continues to be trash piled on the ground, and we are continuing to work with the county to get that trash taken up off the ground for whatever sorting purposes need to occur. There are still signs of rodent infestation. We specifically spoke with the county, or Katie Casada spoke with the county today about the RV. And as you'll recall, after our last conversation, the RV was scheduled for removal by the county through its partnership with Northwest Hospitality. And as anyone that's driven by will take note, it has not yet been removed, and its footprint continues to expand. The county has committed to having that now forcibly removed. And we are getting a clear timeline from them in the coming days for the removal of the RV. Long-term removal of the encampments themselves are also moving forward. You may have seen news articles over the past week related to the county's public acknowledgement of its intent to do a full-scale encampment clean out. And we did receive today a clear timeline from the county with regards to that encampment cleanup, with the ultimate end goal of a full encampment clean out occurring at the end of April, and then ongoing monitoring by the county. So we now have a very specific timeline with benchmarks as to when notices will be issued to occupants of the park, and then ultimately culminating in a 2 to 3 day cleanup event, and a commitment from the county for that to occur. So things are moving in a good direction. There's absolutely still room for improvement, and we continue to put pressure to ensure that that progress does not lapse.
Questions for Charlie on this matter, or myself? I think we all saw, well, hopefully you saw the article in the Kitsap Sun. County had been alluding to their action plan that was outlined in that article for a couple of weeks prior to that, but I just really couldn't speak to it. I was asked to, until they were ready to go public with it, to keep that close to the vest. So, as Charlie said, we're seeing improvement, and hope to see that encampment removed by the end of April, and we maybe can have family activity in that park again that has been missing for quite some time. So we will move on to council committee reports. Economic development and tourism, I don't believe you met. Your meeting got canceled, and the next will be April 18th, if that's not correct.
That's correct.
Correct. Utilities committee, you met, was it last week or was it 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago?
No, we're meeting in April.
April 12th. Oh, okay. I see that. Finance committee didn't meet last week. Its next meeting is April 19th. Transportation committee did meet. They met this evening. So Councilmember Chang, would you have a report?
Yeah, we spoke about several issues, starting with an update on different agencies like PRTPO and the PRSCC. We spent most of the time just talking about appropriations, also known as earmarks, also referred to as congressional directed spending. And there were items that we just discussed that will be coming to the council for basically a ranking or approval. We also had a good discussion and review of phase 1 of the Bethel build out. And that's basically all that I remember from the meeting, which was just before our meeting here tonight.
Yeah, and I can add some additional comment to. I was at National League of Cities last week, so I actually got to talk to a number of individuals and staffers related to the appropriations that app portals that have just been released by our two senators and our congressman. And we'll be submitting projects to all three, and the sweet spot appears to be between $1 million and $2 million. And so we've identified 5 projects, I believe. One is the Bay Street design between Frederick and Geiger related to sea level rise. The second is the public plaza and shoreline restoration designs related to the community center. The Old Clifton non-motorized trail pathway, and it'd be the design and construction, and the Old Clifton water main design. And then additionally, we've recently learned that you can no longer buy gas powered trucks on the state SPID list. And so we're not quite prepared to operate our public works department with electric vehicles that we are now required to order. So we're pursuing a grant for a solar array and charging stations, and we would include the solar array that's proposed for City Hall in that appropriation request. So those are the 5 projects we talked about at the Transportation Committee, and the deadline for those is in the first few days of April. So that this is probably about the last time you'll hear about it, maybe at the next, this is our last council meeting. So this is about the only time we're going to be able to report on this, that we're pursuing those federal awards. We're also going after it's called a RAISE grant for Bethel Phase 1, which is estimated about a $14 million project. We've got money in our budget currently for designs for that, but this federal grant, if we're successful, would provide for design, right-of-way, and construction. So lots of folks, though, are pursuing transportation awards, so it'll be highly competitive. So, but we've got to try. So after that, Chimes and Lights, did you have a meeting?
We did, and it was a great meeting. We are working on the outline of Chimes and Lights, and quite a lot of the discussion was about how long the event would be and how much it would conflict with businesses being open and the streets being open, because there had been some issues with businesses saying that the closure of the streets really make for a difficult day for them when we have Chimes and Lights, and because it's in the holiday season, that has been hard. So we rethought the whole thing through, and we're looking at starting the whole event much later. So starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon rather than in the morning. And the original intent of starting early had to do with having the fundraiser Jingle Bell Run in the midst of Chimes and Lights, which we no longer have. And we are, as the result of our discussion is, we don't want to have a run conflicting with the event because of the complications with transportation and all of the things that we're running into now. So the event will start later. It's 3 to 7:30. This year is the Scottish Christmas. We're going to be having bagpipers and the chimes, all of what we've had in the past. Pretty much not the hay rides this year, but there will be a lot more pedestrian traffic, again, because it's open for everyone to attend in person. So we hope to have Bay Street completely filled with people. We will have Santa and more movement down in the gazebo area this year, take it back down to where we used to have it with Santa. And so we're working out all the logistics and public works. Randy's working on the event applications. So that's kind of the gist of it. We'll be talking to all of you about your attendance and the actual tree lighting itself. Hope that you'll all be there.
Councilmember Rose-Pepe, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, Cindy, just a quick question. I know that one group had been talking about having a run in the morning to raise funds for a organization. So is that definitely out that they should get that word, or they apply and it goes from there? Just wouldn't be with Chimes and Lights.
I think it has to do with who gets their application in first, and considering that Chimes and Lights has been around for this is our 24th year. I would hope that the council would prioritize our event. The run that I heard about, I don't know where the plans are with that, because we don't know. I don't think an event application has been filed. And I haven't heard about a time, Jay. I have no idea what time they were thinking. What we just know, though, is that with the new transportation management requirements, it gets too involved. We want to try to make this less complicated and affordable, and just be able to have the citizens enjoy it. So the collision of two events probably isn't a good idea.
Well, no, I wasn't bringing that up. Excuse me for jumping in there. It was just that I knew they were looking at running it in the morning, and if Chimes and Lights is taking off at 3, that's what I was wondering. But I'll let the folks put in their application and see where everything goes.
Yeah, I think the answer to your question is it's a separate application process, and we'll see where that goes. All right, we're moving on to the next committee, land use. It appears as meeting on April 20th. I don't believe there's a report to present. You didn't meet, I don't believe you met last week. So, all right. And lodging tax, is there anything to report on that front?
I've already given a report, a couple of weeks ago, but Brandy, while we're all here, do you have any updates on the application process and what's happening there?
We did open up the application. We have emailed all the past participants of the lodging tax members, or excuse me, the lodging tax applicants. So information's been out. It's been posted on the website. It is closed. It is due to be closed April 4th. And then the committee is hoping to meet that week, no later than the following week, to look at and review the applications and hear the sorry, talking's hard tonight. With the hopes of the committee reviewing and hearing the presentations from the applicants, again, the week of April 4th, possibly the following week. And then once they deliberate, bring it back before the council, hopefully the second meeting in April. So that way, if the funds are, if the council wants to release those funds to the applicants, they can be released and used for this year.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's consistent with the last report. Just wanted to make sure we were on track for that. So thanks for the update.
You're welcome.
Okay. Moving on to outside agencies. The first, Kitsap Transit has sent a letter to the city related to their board composition review committee. It's required every 4 years to review the composition of its board, and we get one representative at that meeting. And the question is, who do you want that representative to be? And I'm willing to do it, but that's your guys' call. Don't all raise your hands at once. Councilmember Rose, baby.
No, Mayor, I'd be fine if you sit on the transit committee right now, and I'd be fine if you sat on that committee.
All right. I don't believe it takes formal council action, but we will, based on your nobody else jumping up and down and saying they have to do this, I will get a letter sent out to transit telling them that I will represent Port Orchard at that meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
Lawson, go ahead.
Just for the record, I want it noted that I abstained from any discussion or.
You certainly did. You had nothing to do with that discussion. It was all me. And Housing Kitsap, we had our board meeting today. We had an exciting event. We had our 2020 audit presented with no findings other than it was untimely. That was the only finding in it. We should have our 2021 audit completed in May, and that will be the first time in 10 years that Housing Kitsap has completed its financial statements and audit on time. And let me tell you, as a board member, it is quite refreshing to be able to review financial statements and cash flows when you have statements to do that with. So I'm very encouraged. Positive cash flows. There is still a mountain of debt owed to Kitsap County that I don't know that we'll see repaid in any of our lifetimes, but it is a positive sign. And that's it for outside agencies. Where are we now? We are to the mayor's report. I already talked about the fireworks survey and the continuation of the public hearing. We have an additional survey going on related to the community center and the word that wraps the corner of the building. I hope that survey can be found on our website, and I'm looking for that bright idea or catchy word. I'd like to just make you aware, we've reported on this also at the Transportation Committee. We would like to pull phase 1 out of the pathway, which is the wooden boardwalk. With the federal funds. We want to still build that, but we wanted to do it with local dollars. And that is because DNR is making our life very difficult to meet the federal requirements related to the lease. When we use federal monies, we have to have a lease in perpetuity. And it is going to draw this process out even farther if we try to include it. We have a functional pathway. We'd like it to be something more, and we plan to continue that, but with local dollars at a future date versus building it with the section from West Bay Center to the Annapolis Ferry Dock. So I just wanted to communicate that with you, and Mark is working on getting our prospectus amended with local programs to reflect that. And it'll save us about $1 million in our construction costs, and construction materials are going up significantly at this time. So it's probably a good thing. Talked about federal funding, and I did talk to Steve in IT. We are scheduled for our equipment install the first week in May. Don't hold me to that date. I'm not in control of it. So, but we're hopeful that that equipment will get installed there. Possibly have our first, that second week in May for sure. I'm going to hold him to that second meeting in May, that we're definitely holding a hybrid meeting in the council chambers. So that concludes my mayor's report. Let's see, reports of department heads. Mr. Dorsey, do you have anything to share this evening?
I do not.
All right, Miss Archer.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay. Got Miss Lund from HR here. Would you like to report on anything this evening?
I do have one thing I failed to mention last time I was in front of you. The city of Port Orchard has been awarded the 2022 Well City Award. So that's the work of the Wellness Committee, and that means we will, both city and employees, see a 2% discount on our 2023 insurance premiums. I just wanted to share that great news.
Thank you, Debbie. Mr. Bond.
Yeah, good evening. Just one item to report on tonight. Today, I emailed out to the City Council the 2021 Impact Fee Annual Report. We are required to prepare a report annually pursuant to our Impact Fee chapter of the code. And this year's report shows, I'll just touch on a couple of numbers briefly. For park impact fees in 2021, we collected $248,000, $248,995, bringing our year-end 2021 balance to $472,322. And as part of the reporting, Noah and I worked on documenting that we are in compliance with the state law that requires that impact fee money be spent within 10 years. And so for park impact fees, we have spent all funds collected through the year 2018. And so the funds that we have in our account now would have to be spent, some of them by 2028 and some of them by 2029. So we are managing the parks impact fee dollars well. For traffic impact fees, we took in a little over $1.2 million in 2021, bringing our balance to $1.7 million and change. Likewise, we are current through 2018. We've spent all traffic impact fee money collected between the years of 2015, when we first adopted the traffic impact fee, through the end of 2018. And so we are in good shape in terms of complying with the state imposed deadline for spending those fees within 10 years of collecting those dollars. I would also add that in 2021, we passed the transportation agreement with McCormick Communities. And so that resulted in us consolidating the McCormick transportation impact fees with the citywide impact fees. So starting next year, this report will look a little bit different, and it will be a little bit more streamlined because we won't have to account for those two separate sets of dollars separately. And but there will also now be school impact fees captured in the report, now that the city this year passed an interlocal agreement that results in the city collecting that revenue for the school district. So anyway, if you have any questions about that report, feel free to email me, or if any of you would like to discuss it further, it can certainly be added to an agenda, but it's mostly just a reporting document that we're obligated to provide every year. So that is all I have tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. Clerk Wallace?
I do not have anything to add tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Crocker?
I don't have anything to add tonight either. Thank you.
Okay. And Chief Brown?
Yeah, I actually just wanted to thank Ms. Lund. We have done a tremendous amount of work on recruiting over the last couple of weeks and doing a lot of interviews. I just want to thank the council for giving us the additional FTE positions that allow us to interview a lot more people. So there are some quality people that we are hopefully going to bring on board and introduce you to soon. So thank you.
Thanks for your report, Chief. All right, we are done. Now we're to our second citizen comment period. So that can be for anything. And if you wish to address the council, please state your name for the record, and you can be acknowledged by using the raise your hand feature, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the council. If you wish to address the council, please raise your hand and we'll bring you into the meeting. I see no one raising their hand, so I will close the second citizen comment period. We have no executive session tonight. There was a separate link sent to you for the labor session that we're going to go into right after this meeting. And is there anything for the good of the order? And I see no one speaking up, so we will adjourn this meeting, and we will see you, council members and Ms. Lund, in a few minutes in a labor session.